I'm a day late, my apologies, but we're here for the week ahead reading and the channeled messages. There's such dynamic energy. I do hope that you're all getting enough sleep and or able to restore yourselves and look after yourselves. It's prime time for hanging out in nature, taking that quiet time, i.e. the meditation, self-care, all that kind of stuff, and to continue to work on being really present with ourselves, with the people that we're engaging with. And if need be, refraining from certain, levels of conversation. Of course, refraining from engaging on stuff on social media if it's becoming too triggering for us. It's that whole kind of, really managing our nervous system. So this week we have a Mars square Pluto, and that's again a prompt to be really present with ourselves, because Mars square Pluto can be pretty feisty. Not to mention, even sorry, I'm trying to adjust not to mention other people's reactivity. Um, just things could get a bit volatile. So, energetically, or certainly based on the astrology, uh, some of the atrocity and war stuff in the world right now could potentially get worse before it gets better, which I don't even really know how to process that myself, other than having to step away from engaging with some of the stuff on social media. Those of you who have been here a long time know that I don't watch TV and haven't engaged with any kind of mainstream narrative for well over 10 years, if not actually coming up to 15 years now. And yet I'm increasingly aware of the kind of stronghold that probably certain organizations or corporations have, a lot of power with regards to what we're seeing on our phones and social media. There's a lot of uproar around free speech and our ability to communicate freely and express ourselves, express our opinions. Um, and that's part of, I guess, the kind of intensity of algorithmic um, algorithmic control, is suddenly seeing things that I don't engage with normally. And so that kind of reflects to me that there is very much a kind of steered narrative, and the more momentum social media garners within the public arena, there's an intense desire to dominate that sphere as well. So the more we're aware of that, the more we're aware of withdrawing our attention, remembering that our attention is valuable, our presence, our attention, what we're giving our attention to, that is probably the most valuable commodity in regards to the world. And then of course the world herself and the resources that she shares with us, and to really return home. I saw a post about the calendar, and how truly a lot of our sort of time stamp signature is a distortion of the natural cycles. So if we were to do a 13-month um, lunar cycle, or like a 13-month yearly cycle in total connection with the moons, being at a 28-day, exactly 28 days of the month, um, that our societies could function differently, that we might function differently. I'm increasingly aware of like the female cycle and our ability to really honor our bodies, and how kind of radical and revolutionary that can be with regards to reclaiming our sovereignty as people. I put out a daily reading today, um, and um, just that idea of reclaiming our minds, you know, that increasingly still now we are being called to reclaim our minds. I joked, but I'm serious, of like, um you know, focus your mind, Jedi, that we channel that centered energy to focus on a benevolent restoration of our own psyche in connection to Mother Earth, and that it truly is, for a higher state of being on the planet, absolutely vital that we're able to hold space for one another in peace and compassion, and move away from this sort of control, domination, divide, conquer, um, power over, as even a kind of simple thing of like thinking that we dominate Earth and that we have to control the resources. Um, and there's an element of that, but it's more of a cooperation. So in our own beingness, living in a state of cooperation, increasingly being open to community endeavors. And that can look differently for all of us. I totally feel and love this community, this online community, and yet working, not working, but flowing and trusting that flow of energy. Where over the weekend, it was a really interesting series of events that unfolded where I reconnected with somebody that I knew from the past, and then within that reconnection, ended up meeting somebody that's potentially new, another female and a content creator. And it just sparked that little bit of excitement around like more human engagement, and just on a certain energetic alignment, as far as like the projecting the vision of the future and aligning myself and embracing and allowing new people into that field of energy. Okay, so I'm hearing the divine guidance and loving clarity. We're going to pick some cards. This is going out to my Patreons first, so they get ad-free first access and some exclusive content. Top tier patrons get 10% discount working with me. They also get access to the Be the Change courses, divine guidance and loving clarity. And then the grassroots level get the ad-free content and also the exclusive stuff. Now, if you join, you can do a 7-day free trial, and that allows you to kind of access things. And again, you can cancel your Patreon at any time. There's no pressure or anything like that. Divine guidance and loving clarity, you're not going to be locked in. Apparently, like some of the subscription sites that are getting kickback around free speech are making it harder for people to cancel. And for a while, I've just, based on my technology getting older, I'm not able to do the streaming services, and yet I probably I kind of think that's for the best. And I haven't had like a Netflix or any of those streaming services. And with regards to YouTube, it's, I do love listening to long form content, and I tend to stick to my astrology because then I'm constantly learning, as well as having some entertainment, right? Some kind of way to kind of wind down and listen. So divine guidance and loving clarity for my patrons, and for whoever else finds this video. This is looking at the week ahead. There's a little bit of because we're post-eclipse, we can see these energies unfolding now for certainly at least 2 weeks, but the next 6-month window of time. These next few months are really kind of ramping up for us to be open, be adaptable, for these new structures to be laid down. I'm getting something about, journaling and meditating. Personally, the last week, I've really been withdrawing as far as like focusing on meditating in the morning rather than just getting up and kind of getting into the workflow. So making sure that I'm, taking that time to sit still, to sit with quiet spaces, and just really luxuriate in the silence. And then especially since I've moved, really finding like going for a walk or even a couple walks a day, getting into the water. Sunday I did like a sauna session, and we usually go have a little stroll down to the beach and have a cold dip and go in and out of the sea in the sauna. So that was really serendipitous and very, very nice. So I'm intending to go again this Saturday. Okay, let's get it. So divine guidance, the Hierophant card is here. That's the central energy. What are the other energies for the collective? Some different messages coming through. Yeah, this is like that Mars square Pluto. Just be mindful of our reaction, of other people's reactions, especially if we're finding out information that is unsettling or disconcerting. This is mainly for the moment thought and energy. But yeah, my sense was that there was potentially work stuff going on as well, maybe being promoted, or there's something here we're having to balance, if even keeping ourselves really balanced. I want to get, there's a Seven of Swords here that come out in the general reading for today as well. So there's a few different messages here. So you guys know, take what resonates and leave the rest. There's possibly almost like a sideways communication or a lack of communication from somebody from our past. It could be an old lover, an old friend, kind of soulmate energy. I want to say they're at a distance here. So there's been a completion with that. Truly, like the Ten of Swords reverse. So there's a completion with regards to an older connection. Again, somebody from childhood, somebody that felt like family or feels like family. There's definitely been a completion and then a kind of withdrawal. So there's very little communication here. I do read that as being in our past. So in our recent past, there's been a release, there's been a letting go, there's been a yeah, of a kind of heart-centered connection of sorts, or a soulmate type of connection. Again, take how it resonates. Ten of Sword is a finality, is a closure, a final ending here, and there's no communication. We're not communicating back and forth with this person anymore. And again, they could be at a distance. And the Hierophant Central, there's a message coming in possibly around work. Now, this could, I'm leaning more toward a kind of upgrade or a promotion. We're getting more pentacles here, but also maybe having to take on more responsibility. It's like that classic thing of getting a promotion where you get a key to the office or you get a key to the place of work. Yeah, and I feel this is sort of a message of like, hey, would you be up for taking on a bit more responsibility, and we'll pay you, a little bit more money, and you're quite excited, but you're wanting to stay really grounded and then balance, reflect, figure out if you've got enough time to take on that responsibility, and whether or not the kind of pay increase is useful to you, which I'm sure for a lot of us it would be. So for some of you, there's been a bit of a trial, possibly like some intensity around finances and keeping our budget balanced rather. And now we're closing this chapter. Hence, like there's an increase of finance, which is helping us close a chapter where we've been tested supremely around our ability to stay balanced and stay grounded and yeah, balancing our budget, not staying within our means, that kind of thing. For some of you, this is sort of intuitively guided, or even, hmm, we might be like, for some of you, you might be tuning into your spirituality or actually engaging with a spiritual teacher that's helping you feel better about who you are. And then the feeling better about who you are is allowing you to close down certain chapters and then move into a greater sense of balance and stability. This is more than likely after a bit of turbulence, like maybe having a bit of a rough ride with regards to work, money, a sense of empowerment, a sense of being autonomous. Um, and or also we're more tuned into our own spiritual practices. So, and again, a lot of us are engaging with sort of spiritual content, as it were. We're finding teachers and people on the internet or just in our day-to-day lives that kind of inspire us to feel connected, trust the intuition. And this is probably helping us to feel more empowered. And then again, when new opportunities or new people come in, that kind of inspires a greater sense of abundance and good luck and good fortune. So, and this could be connected, I would say, to the Pluto Mars square that I spoke about that we're in this week. There could be information or something a little bit blindsiding, that like somebody was lying about something. Now, bearing in mind, the star card is here. So I get a real strong sense that, like, whatever the situation is, when you can hold space for yourself, there's always potential for healing. And squares are, again, when you're looking at evolutionary astrology, nothing is like good or bad or right or wrong. Certain aspects are just more uncomfortable, but bearing in mind things like squares that are uncomfortable, they're really designed to help us move, to make more decisive action. Mars going into Scorpio is actually like a positive thing. Like Mars likes being in Scorpio. It's the original ruler of Scorpio. So um as much as we might get in, this is more likely information or thought orientation, so the way we're thinking about ourselves, or we find out how somebody else has been thinking about us, or again that like somebody just lied to us about something, or we lied to ourselves, right? Take it how it resonates. That as that information comes in, it's like, right, wow, okay, I'm going to digest that. I'm going to sit with that. And the star card is really, to me, indicating this is wonderful potential for healing. It's something like just having too many distractions around us, which of course with our phones and all the things, right? So yeah, definitely it's like potential for healing, because there's the 5 of Cups. So 5 of Cups is grief, emotional despair, working through some of those deeper, painful emotions, possibly taking a little bit of time out to process those emotions. Maybe we're mourning, going back to our recent past. Maybe we're kind of finally releasing and letting go of old connections, or maybe again, things can get triggered that remind us of things that we lost or love that we lost, because it's cups, it's emotion, it's the watery streams of our existence. So we might just take a little bit of time, and there could be a bit of grief and or despair or deeper, denser emotions that are wanting to be purged and come up. And of course, when Pluto's involved, that's very likely the case, that there's going to be some emotional intensity that is breaking us down, that is shedding things, that is allowing us to let go of old thought processes, more than likely, like psyche. To me, Pluto is very much about the psyche, like the human psyche, the consciousness. And personally, as a Capricorn rising, whenever Pluto was aspecting, as in conjuncting, going over my ascendant line, heavy duty radical changes took place. And then, but again, it had a lot to do with personal power. So Pluto is really ushering us as a humanity into more authentic personal power, which has nothing to do with domination and control, divide and conquer, ego function, power over other people, addicted to materiality. In this time stamp reality that we're living through, and again, personally, as I've gone through that Pluto transit over my first house, it was purely breaking down the ego and the illusions, and endeavoring to anchor myself, because I'm the Capricorn I'm speaking about, into a deeper sense of power beyond the illusion. As in, now that Pluto's in Aquarius, just feeling more myself, feeling more in trust of that personal power, in unity with the whole, which is the Aquarian signature, that we can be our authentic self. Because when we're in that sense of unity, it's not like we're here to do harm to one another, right? We don't have that will or desire to power over other people or have power over other people. It's that Pluto has broken it down, right? So Pluto will continue to break down the illusions, the power structures, right? And allow us to reform, allow us to get centered. And that's what I joke about. But again, I'm serious of like, focus your mind, Jedi. You know, we're in these radical times now, and it's cool to have technology, but remember that we're not enslaved by it. Okay, like any addiction, you know, that we have the power to withdraw, that we have the power to vision our lives, and to choose a state of grace, a state of gratitude, right? Like just the simple moments of being grateful for a beautiful sunset, being grateful for creatures that we look after. It's a little puppy. That's Mabel. Some of you know Mabel. That's my friend Rupert's dog. Isn't she gorgeous? She doesn't like to be on her own, and I can't say no to her. So she wants to come up into the bed. It's like, okay, baby girl. And I have to like give her a, hey, baby. I have to give her a little boost usually because her back and hips are a little worn out. She's an old one, but she's still a lovely creature. But see, just that, like the serendipity or the grace of being able to look after a creature and really enjoying the kind of co-regulation of having a wonderful, she's just the best. She honestly is like the best dog ever. But yeah, just having another being to look after who just offers unconditional love. And I've been taking her on for 2 walks, a daytime walk and an early evening walk. Anywho, let's finish up this reading. So little uptick, okay, little uptick, possibly a work promotion, a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more money. The Hierophant with the keys means like there could be a car, as in a new car, or keys, like new keys that we get that give us access. It could be, again, taking on a little bit more. It's just a 2 of Pentacles. So just a little bit more responsibility and income that we're having to balance. And then over here, again, these revelations or this new information that could come in sideways that is like forcing us to get really focused and centered on our own beingness rather than being swept up in the distraction of all the distractions that we have at our disposal. For some of you, it could trigger a little bit deeper emotional healing of loss, letting go of the things that we've released or the things that we've lost. And at the same time, there's a little bit of a boost of good luck, good fortune. Not because I'm looking here at this a 9 of Cups. This is like good things coming into our world, feeling lucky, right? Feeling like we did good kind of thing. She's doing that thing where she's like having a dream and like running, so her legs are moving. Isn't that right, baby girl? Just the final few cards here. I'm just going to pull from the final few decks now. So the seven sisters, the 7-star sisters, that star constellation is the Pleiades, birthing creation's tapestry of life and expression. There are a few different messages coming in from that. Like, that could be the opportunity to go out, socialize, have a bit more fun. Another message here is that there's maybe work to be done with some other star sisters, like people that you resonate with on a kind of sisterly or brotherly level, because it's expression. There's something about our creativity, and I'm sure I've probably said this in some share at some point, but like, our creativity is the key. My tummy is going, the key. And that is, I mean, we're constantly creating just by thinking, feeling, and breathing. We're creating our own beingness, right? In tandem with the entire cosmos. So there's something about processing this pain, seeing through illusions, letting go of the past, that's allowing us to kind of step into slightly lighter feels so that we can dance, be free, go have fun, go play with our brothers and sisters, rather than be kind of isolated in our own distractions or fearful of certain illusions. It's like your own connection is protection. That's why we're constantly kind of pointing to this, listening to the intuition, as illogical as it might seem. Certainly when we're wanting to break through old programming, right? That it's not logical. Well, how am I going to survive? Or how am I going to do this? You trust. You trust in your own aliveness. You trust in the way you're supported through life. I personally really get that, having been given a no-fault eviction very suddenly, and having to move, and then settling into a new space and just being like, wow, truly, you know, like, when we're flowing in that divine grace, we are held, we are supported. And yet it doesn't mean that all the feels, like getting the eviction was like, I am loved and supported. No, it's like a gut-wrenching, you know, processing all the instability, processing the unfairness, processing my own resistance even around money, finance, injustice, things that I perceive as unjust in the world. So letting all that come up, holding space for it, grieving, having to leave a place that I love, so grieving that, and just trusting in the unfolding. But I really had that moment yesterday where I was feeling really safe and supported and happy to be where I am now, thinking, gosh, you know, that is really powerful. Like, I wouldn't have chosen to leave where I was, but now I've got a warmer space. I'm a 10-minute walk to the sea. Couldn't have asked for more. So it's like, hi. Well, I do ask for more, but here we are. Self-exploration. That's part of the kind of Seven Sisters messaging as well. So the self-exploration can also be indicative or connected to play, dance, go and have fun with some maybe people you don't really know very well. Maybe there's some new people coming in. You're like, actually, let's go have dance, let's go. And again, that there can be experiences or information that come in through these new territories that trigger a deeper healing, emotionally speaking, remembering that the emotional body is always helping us with that self-exploration. You know, self-exploration isn't itself. And if we don't anchor in the habit pattern of processing our emotions and exploring those emotions more fully and feeling more deeply, as ugly or you know, weird as it might be, then we don't get to like know who we are, right? So the full spectrum of our emotions and our thoughts and that is part of the totality of of who we are. It's just the fraction, it's just this tiny fraction on the external of our job or our gender, right? Those are just tiny little aspects, whereas every single one of us is more full from within self. Hence, seeing with compassion, you have a deeper understanding of why people do what they do and how they do what they do, etc. So the past situation, there was some unhealed stuff. It's as in there's been something inviting us to heal more deeply within the end of a situation. That whether we thought it or not, there was something really burdensome about the situation. Hence why we're being called to let it go. This is the recent past with letting go of a soulmate, letting go of maybe someone or a situation that we were really, really attracted to, like the light, the moth to the flame kind of thing. Like we were really, really attracted to it, and actually there's an aspect of there's some kind of burden that we probably weren't able to really see or heal until we stepped away and embraced our own autonomy and then new beginning, like writing a new story for ourselves so that we can hone our senses, right? Become more connected. So final card for my patrons, divine guidance, love and clarity. It's like new alliances. So remember too, like whenever there's crunchy, as in aspects like squares that can be quite intense or uncomfortable, there's always going to be some benevolent stuff that helps us flow through. So our ability to think clearly is sort of the gateway out of the crunch, out of the spice. There's new alliances coming in. There is benevolent energy. We just need that little bit of quiet time to think and to process and to be kind to ourselves through these changes. I think I'm going to leave it there, my loves. So yeah, journal. Journal is going to be useful. Journaling, meditating. Of course, you're welcome to reach out if you want a few sessions just to get into a bit of a meditation practice. I've had a few more requests for meditation sessions, so that's kind of prompting me if you want to do some meditation and be guided for a few days or a few weeks. Again, we can always kind of negotiate and talk about your needs, right? All right, my loves, have a wonderful, wonderful day and have a great week ahead. I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next update next week. Feel free to share how that resonates with you and keep looking after yourselves. Stay nice and grounded. And I'll see you in the dailies, and I'll certainly be seeing you next week for another weekly update. Lots of love, so much appreciation for you patrons. And I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Peace out.